I inherited 2,300 acres of land from my father. Most of it was quiet ranch land with fences and open fields. But one paved road running through the property caught my attention. That road wasn't a small dirt path. It was a full entrance road used by an entire neighborhood. Every morning, dozens of cars drove across my land. At first, I thought the road must belong to the community. After all, it had signs, fences, and a proper gate. It looked like it had been there for years. Still, something didn't feel right. So I decided to check the property records my father left behind. That's when things started getting strange. Inside the ranch house were boxes full of old land documents, surveys, maps, and decades of paperwork. I started going through them one by one. After hours of searching, I found the original land survey. The boundary lines were drawn clearly across the map, and the entrance road stood right in the middle of it. I checked the map again just to be sure. The road wasn't on the edge of the property. It was deep inside my land. Maybe there was an easement agreement somewhere, some legal permission allowing the HOA to build the road. So I kept digging through the documents. But there was nothing, no contracts, no agreements allowing them to use the land, which meant the road technically belonged to the landowner. And now that landowner was me. That realization changed everything. The next morning, I drove to the entrance road to look at it again. Cars were already lining up to enter the neighborhood. Nobody had any idea they were crossing private land. While I was standing there, an SUV pulled up beside me. A woman stepped out looking irritated. She introduced herself as part of the HOA board. She immediately started asking why I was standing near the road. According to her, this was community property, and I had no reason to be there. I calmly told her the road was built on my land. She laughed like it was a ridiculous joke. To her, the HOA owned everything around here. So I went back to my truck and grabbed the survey map. Then I handed it to her. Her confidence disappeared almost instantly. She stared at the boundary lines on the paper. The road clearly crossed straight through my property. Her expression suddenly became very serious. Without saying much, she pulled out her phone. Within minutes, she was calling someone urgently. The situation was escalating fast. About 30 minutes later, another car arrived. A man in a gray suit stepped out, holding a folder. The HOA had called their lawyer. The attorney asked to see the documents. He studied the survey carefully beside the road. Then he began checking the landmarkers nearby. For several minutes, he stayed silent. He compared the map with the property boundaries. Everyone waited for his answer. Finally, he looked up at the entrance road. Then he turned toward the HOA representative. His expression said everything. He explained that the road was indeed on private land. Without a legal easement, the HOA didn't own it. They had simply assumed they did. The HOA representative suddenly looked nervous. Hundreds of homes depended on this entrance road. Closing it would create a huge problem. Cars continued lining up behind the gate. Drivers had no idea what was happening. But the HOA board realized the situation was serious. That's when their tone changed completely. Instead of arguing, they started asking questions. They wanted to work something out. They asked if I would allow the road to stay. After all, the entire neighborhood depended on it. But land like this isn't free. I told them if they wanted to keep using the road, they would have to buy the land it sat on. That seemed like the simplest solution. The price I mentioned shocked them. But their lawyer didn't argue. He already knew the situation was real. Building a completely new road would cost millions, far more than simply buying the land from me. The HOA had very few options left. In the end, the lawyer looked at the HOA board and said, quietly, we should negotiate. Because the road they depended on was never theirs to begin with.